Hello, hello. Welcome to station WBMCT. My name is CC. I got my co-host here, EB, and we're going to discuss the latest news and happenings of the world today. As we always do, we start out with domestic news. We go to international news. We have a subject today is going to be boomers going into Generation X, the comparison between the two, and parenting, and how we transition between Generation X and Y, and all the other letters that's involved in these generations, which I'm an old guy. I'm getting older. I can barely keep up. And I'm going to hopefully have a good discussion on that. I have young people who are in those generations in my family, and it's good to have a conversation every now and then when you can with the young people, but not the easiest thing. But we're going to try it just to bring up the subject. EB always brings the domestic news, and I always bring the international news. And so, EB, what you got for us on the domestic front?
Like I say, I guess just recently stated, welcome aboard. Appreciate you all coming to spend some time with us. The day, as you know, it seems like if you watched us last week or the week before that, it seemed like the subject gets to change, like we doing a repeat. But he was still talking about the Epstein file. And then for us to understand is that how that the Epstein file has had the effects that it has on other countries. Prince Andrew has been stripped of his title as prince. He's been kicked out of the royal home, so he basically is on his own. And this weekend he was arrested, and he was arrested because I guess they have information that he was sharing with Epstein that was part of Britain's. I'm trying to think of the word.
I think he was in the financial sector. He was an ambassador, was he? He was getting inside. He had inside information, whatever
right,
his title was. He
right,
had some
right,
inside information.
Thank you for that.
Basically, he was doing some insider trading with Epstein, which all of us would love to have because, well, it's illegal, except unless you're in Congress. But that's what I think. That's what his charge is going to be. They're not charging him with the Epstein stuff right now because the easier target for the country is to charge him for what he's, the clear
misconduct in public office.
Misconduct in public office.
Yes, that's what it is. But it is funny that we continue to have this Epstein conversation, and you see all these fallouts, even to include, the re-victimizations of the victims. But the one, president got on the TV the other day and said he's been exonerated. I'm saying exonerated from what? I don't understand that. But anyway, that's one part.
When you say who's been exonerated,
I say he said that he has been exonerated.
Well, I mean, is it Trump that's been exonerated?
Trump
he said
himself. Trump himself is saying,
he said, I'm exonerated.
Exonerated based on everything.
Nothing to do with
it
him,
had nothing
right?
to do with it.
Okay,
but that's, apparently, we haven't been able to get that particular shot or picture of Trump being guilty other than just his association with him. I kind of think that this pressure that they putting on Prince Andrew, we was talking last night, and I was just saying that we think that Andrew gonna break because I think he is.
He's gonna spill the beans on all his teammates.
Yeah, that's what because he's the only one, that there's really what's other people that have stepped down from their positions. The guy of the Wasserman, he stepped down, and his ex-prime minister of the UK, he stepped down, so everybody's being affected except and seeing Trump is saying, see, y'all keep going after me, but then again, all these other people are falling in the process. So,
Well, but Trump said, didn't Margaret Taylor Greene say that
he told
it's going to hurt my friends, a lot of something to that effect? When everybody knows, well, your friends are secondary to what you're concerned about.
Right.
Since when does Trump care about his friends? Quote, please.
He's not his friend. Mm-hmm. And then transitioning that today that the Supreme Court disapproved of Trump tariffs. I was just watching TV just a couple minutes ago, and he sits on there, and he's talked about Kavanaugh, one of his favorite justices, saying that he wrote a dissent, and his dissent was saying is that that give the president the power to invoke. And he went to all these acts from 1965. You know how they screw up the record. So he's saying he's being emboldened by that to say that he's disappointed, but he's been emboldened that he can go in. And he says he's going to do it now the way he should have done it all along. And I'm thinking that executive director, that's what I'm thinking.
Right. He's got, I think you're saying he has two other options. Okay, the Supreme Court shot him down for robbing the people, basically. Trump's been robbing us with these tariffs. He puts it off with this big lie like the other countries pay for it, like China pays for it, Britain or Canada, Canadians pay for it. But it is really a tax on the people. Like somebody said, this is the biggest tax in American history on the American people by the executive branch. Putin's having a good day, to be honest, just breaking down America. Trump, to me, works for Putin. And Putin's upset all these years. He's had tariffs on him, and he's just kind of payback. We're just under the thumb of a Russian, I don't know, what is he, a demagogue, dictator running this country, too. That's why you see the ships are selling back into the Middle East now. That's by Putin's orders, I'm sure. And so that's just where we are. But go ahead, brother. You had some more on that?
Well, I just the tariffs, they shut up on this screen is that they were showing that what it's costing American household, up to $1,600 extra for those tariffs. So it's tariffs that they saying that we getting all this money in, and now that the Supreme Court has made that ruling, is that all that money that was collected, the question is being asked now, what are they going to do with it? Are they going to give that money back to those companies that they pay, that they have to pay, or is it? And he's saying, yeah, you said it, but I've said all along is that question has never been asked. But if you never made the tariff, it wouldn't be a question to ask.
And I think, I think companies like Costco, I noticed they already have a lawsuit in place to get their money back. Right. But as far as how does that come down to us, and I don't think that. I think it's just going to be a wash. We've just been robbed once again. And that's all I see this administration is. It's just a big stick up to me. We all are being stuck up. And that's going to be the best part of it. The worst part of it, the next thing you know, we're going to be bowing down our knees to this pedophile ring, and not just him, by the way. Oh, and by the way, on the tariffs that you were saying that Trump's going to try something else, which I just saw on CNN, that he's already trying it. He the two other options he has, and it's mind-boggling how this man's intent on hurting America and Americans, and that's what it comes down to, just point blank.
You're right,
and so I think we might get over the hump. I'm not sure where this is going, to be honest, but I hope we got impeachment coming after the midterms. Maybe the Republicans will get a backbone. Who knows? But we're in serious trouble in the country. I don't know. Well, in my prediction, I don't think Trump's going to make it past July, in my opinion. But he might. And but
when you say make it past July, you talking?
Well, I'm talking that the Republicans might get a backbone after the midterms. But
that's past July. You saying the midterm?
When is the midterms?
Midterms in November.
Oh no, that's general. That's okay. You mean the midterms before the presidential? I'm talking about the midterms in their party. Like right now, did you vote yet?
Oh, it ain't time to vote.
Oh, you got midterms going on.
I'm saying
now.
You can.
Midterms in your state. I shouldn't say it.
Yes. Okay.
For your state.
Yeah. Okay. I said you're saying as far as like they determine. Like say, yeah, you're right. We in high season here in Chicago. all those congressmen are running for office. Yes.
What's his name?
Raja.
And
then the other lady, I forgot her name.
She's from south side of Chicago. I can't remember her name anyway. But that's the midterms I'm talking about. Robin Kelly.
Robin Kelly.
Those are the midterms I'm talking about.
Right.
And so out of that three brackets, who you think going to come out of that bracket?
When I first came out, I was thinking that Raji was a shoo-in, and then I seen that Pritzker endorsed Stratton, and I see that Kelly is now using commercials talking about how she was working with Obama. So she used a sound bite for Trump. She said, "Yeah, Trump Kelly." You said, "Yep, he said it." You know what I'm saying? So, but I didn't know. I think she used to be in office, and then either she got beat or she stepped away. Kelly, Robin Kelly used to be in Congress.
Yeah, Robin. Yeah, she was a representative. In fact,
Right.
she did a lot of good work on the gun against guns,
Right,
the
right.
gun lobby. I don't know if she was successful, but that's what she's known for, her stance against guns. But I think she was a state representative,
Right.
but now she's going federal,
Right.
and that's what this is for, a federal seat. I think Dick Durbin's seat.
Yeah.
He's stepping
the
down
Senate.
for the Senate.
Yeah.
And Julian Stratton, she's a lieutenant governor right now.
Yes.
That's why the big difference between the two is I think super PAC money. I think that's what they say. Julian Stratton, she did, as you notice, she didn't have that many commercials until lately. Roger's been running his commercials
Yeah, but
always.
they saying that Roger is backed by the super PAC though.
Yes, he had to. If you look at all his commercials, those commercials, I'm sure they're in the millions.
Oh yeah,
And so
he
Julian,
loaded.
when you look at her commercials, right on the bottom, they say who pays for it.
Right.
And I noticed on the bottom when Julian Stratton was running, she did get Governor Pritzker has his own super PAC, which I'm sure he funds. He's a billionaire,
Right.
and so basically she's getting her money from him. Yeah, and I have no problem with that because everybody knows Pritzker in Illinois. He's performed very well, and I think in his job performance. And so I could see him, if he bankrolled his own campaign, he's bankrolling her. Now, it's just one of those things. I'm not saying that when people give campaigns money, I just don't see how they give this big, larger sum of money and don't expect
something
back.
exactly. And
But if I had to, take my choice, well, I'll just say, Pritzker, can we get a little money on,
Right.
I'd rather pay him back than some unknown entity
That's true.
like China or Russia, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
And because that's what usually happens. People get this they call it dark money through the super PAC. They don't even know who they're getting it from. They see the person up front, but there's a person behind that person.
But I see that his campaign, they are going back to what we was talking about, the tariffs, is that Stratton saying that she's against Trump tariffs and Raji say he's against it too. I haven't really heard anything on Kelly. So in other words, that's a talking point as far as like a campaign.
Yeah, since you brought up Kelly again, I'm just not comfortable with. It's this thing when two black candidates run and there's a third candidate. What happens is what we talk about. You already know where I'm going with this. The black vote gets split, and it just makes me feel a little uneasy. And then you get Roger. He's taking super PAC money. We don't know where his money's coming from. He probably doesn't. So he's going to be in some major debt if he wins. That's what my concern is.
He's going to be in
major debt. These commercials he's been running. Well, let's say the super PAC.
No, I'm saying, okay, indebted.
Indebted, yeah.
To something, to a cause, I'm saying, not to the actual financial.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm glad you clarified.
Gotcha.
I'm glad you paused. That's what we're all about is communicating.
Right.
Thank you for pausing me there. Indebted. That's a better word. He's been running commercials since last year.
Yep.
That's a lot of money.
Yep.
And so
for the longest, he wasn't even saying for Senate. He just was putting his name out there.
Yeah.
And for the longest, it didn't say nothing what he was running. But then later on, when those other people started running their commercial, then he started say Roger for Senate.
Right.
Like you say he's been at it since late. So in other words, he didn't beat the people across the ear about it for all that time. He was just talking about the things that he's done and all that, and then he started speaking about.
Yeah. And that so back to the splitting of the votes. Because what you're going to have is the black vote probably will get split between Robin Kelly and Julian Stratton. And Roger probably just come up from behind, and that's
primary,
unfortunate. That's nothing new in Chicago. We talk about that all the time. And hey, nothing wrong. I mean, freedom of choice. But, yeah, I just feel uncomfortable with that.
And, when you talk about Illinois politics, it's because when Mayor Lightfoot,
Right.
when she ran, she was polling at 1 digit percent,
Okay.
and of course you know the result.
Okay.
So I'm just saying is that Chicago, Illinois politics is a different beast.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's the thing that that we would have to look at. But anyway, all that being said is that we going back to that all those two probably no two people speak strongly about tariff. But this is the lie that Trump is selling to America, that this right here is the money that he's saying that we've been robbed of that. But then again, all that money being ain't nothing more affordable, ain't nothing more. So that lie that he perpetrated, that this is what the tariffs was going to still cause. They're going to have all this big pot of money that's going to be available to the United States, but that is not happening at all. So
we kind of ran over on domestic news there, and we didn't get. But we're going to do. I will take this break. We'll come back with international news. It'll probably be kind of overlapping anyway. We'll just take this quick break and come right back, and we'll do briefly the international news.
Oh, I forgot to tell you. Did you see that for international? Did you see that Trump told what's their name, if they don't take the deal, it's gonna be some bad things happening. We got a carrier. Oh, Iran.
Iran.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought about that.
All right. Welcome back. All right, we're going to go to international news, and like I say, we'll still always tie back both international and domestic. But right now, Iran is the first thing on my international news note here, and because looks like we're gearing up for a war. We're gearing up for an unauthorized, unconstitutional war with Iran. I guess the deal is we're just going to go and blow up the place and claim victory. Sound familiar? I think the last Republican Bush did the same old idiotic stuff and playbook rather, and based on a lie. At least Bush had enough. I don't know, whatever you call it. Didn't want to insult everybody with the lie, but at least he put on a good show to get us in an unauthorized war.
Oh, okay.
However you want to put it.
Wow.
Trump just going to screw that. I'm not even going to tell you where I'm ready to blow the place up. It's unauthorized. That's what we're at. We're just in a totally lawless place. I don't know how it's going to pan out, but we definitely have the aircraft carriers being moved there, right?
Yes.
The threats have already, they started some time ago. He already did something illegal when he bombed them in the first place. And so I don't even know what this is about, really.
From what I gather, from the conversation that everybody's having, is that on no uncertain term, they saying that Iran cannot have access to nuclear weapons.
Okay.
You can have enriching, some enriched uranium, but then again, at the end of the day, they saying they not have the capability. But now, that is one of them. I seen the other day they talking about that they got to disassociate themselves with Hamas, and the other one started K.
Right. Now, and I look at these demands, and like, who are these demands coming from? Is it, in this case, are they coming from Netanyahu? Are they coming from Putin? It's one or the other, because Trump doesn't have half. He's not making, and some of these demands are just idiotic to me. And why would you even? Well, my thing is, why you even go there? I mean, what are we doing? Because this has the potential of a world war. It has that greater potential. It's definitely going to cost us a lot of money. Costing us a lot of money now. Taxpayers' money, and
Right.
that's what we got to keep in mind is that the taxpayers are paying for this. Now think about it. We go to these crappy schools. Now kids go to these crappy schools. If you just stop one war or one bombing event or whatever you want to do, you could rebuild the whole school. One, that is that simple. So the people are being, and this is nothing new. This is nothing new. It's been happening forever. We talk about reparations and stuff like that. We could easily have reparations done by now. So I'm just saying all the money that's always blown up, for the sake of the empire, and so that's.
And it's fun. And it's
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but it's funny that you say that when you made the comment about the financial side of it. To deploy a carrier group, it includes the carrier, the frigate, the destroyer, and they saying that it costs American taxpayer $18 million a day for deployment. And it goes back to what you're saying, that we got these tour schools and all the other things that we could be using that money for, but we using it, Trump is using the U.S. government as a private toy, a game that he plays. He went from Iran, he been in Venezuela, he been he just all over the place, but he's never anywhere that he should be. And I agree, is that the financial side, that's why I add that little comment as far as what it's costing us as the American people.
That's right.
For that.
And okay, and the next one is Ukraine and Israel. Those are the two I always talk about Ukraine and Israel. And I know some black people out there probably are thinking, what does Ukraine have to do with black people? What does Israel have to do with black people? And I just answered that question. Your tax dollars, first of all. And second of all, there are black people in the military. There's black kids and fathers and mothers in the military who, when a war starts, as Uncle Sam says, he's not training you to be a good father, good mother, or, good brother. He's training you to go out and fight a war. So, in other words, family ain't first on the list when a war goes down. It's just military people, it's a hard life when we play these war games. And when I was in the military, we would always play the war games. And that I hated that. So these are 12-hour shifts of nonstop war, playing. It's a mock-up war, but it's hard. And especially in the Air Force, because we weren't used to all that now. We just want to go home at 4 o'clock, come in at 7, I ain't trying to stay. But, when the war goes, when it gets started, it's a done deal. And that's another thing. You don't know how war is going to turn out. Just because you got all that war power, the equipment, and so that doesn't mean it's going to be successful. Yeah, so you might be there a while. Afghanistan is a case and point. Israel is still committing genocide. It's just terrible what's going on. I kind of think of the Native Americans when Christopher Columbus showed up. I think there was 28 million Native Americans on this continent. Last I checked, you can fact check me if you like, I think there's 2 million. Down from 28 million to 2 million. I would call that de facto genocide. I would class that, because 28 million to 2 million, you're just remnants, and most of them are on the reservations. So you think black folks had it hard, at least we're still around, I think. And you corrected my number last time. I thought we was on 20 million, but when you look at the Pew Research, there's 40 million black people in the United States. But now there's a caveat to that some are what we call have immigrated here in the last 20, 30 years, and they identify with BLACK, black. But African Americans are one that have the slavery in their background or heritage. That number is not 40 million, I don't think. But you can fact check me on that. But anyway, that was domestic news. Man, but we missed, international news. We missed an important thing, man, that just happened. in your in the domestic news. Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson just passed. Jesse Jackson is a giant. I remember when he came to Mississippi Valley State. I think I was in college in 1986. Never seen the man. Hear about him on TV. In fact, Friday is the day that most students, when I was going to college, that's the day everybody's going home. And you have seminar. Everybody had to do seminar on Friday, and then after that, people cut out. And I didn't live nowhere near the college, so I just had to stay there. Me and my buddy, roommate, he was from Chicago, so it wasn't no big deal for us. But that Friday, we had what they call it's like every Friday you can get credit. Everybody had to be there, but they didn't tell us who was going to be there. But it was mandatory that you had to be there. And we got there, and there was this full room. And from behind the curtains, here comes Jesse Jackson. Now, of course, we all country bumpkins down there. We've never seen a superstar like Jesse Jackson. And Jesse, man, he came out and gave a speech that just, like he always did back then. Had the big afro back then. That's when everybody was wearing the afros, basically. And the afros were kind of going out. People were cutting their hair around about that time in the mid-'80s. Man, he gave this speech, man, blew us away. And he always ended this speech and said, I am somebody. I am somebody. I might be poor, but I am somebody. I might have holes in my shoes, but I am somebody. I might be on welfare, but I am somebody. And we were so fired up. He said, now what we going to do? We're going to leave. We got some buses out there, and we're going to go out there and get on them buses. We're going to go down to City Hall, and we're going to register to vote. Man, we were so fired up. All them buses were filled up, man. We went downtown, Itta Bena there, because I went to Mississippi Valley State. Went down there, man, and they wasn't prepared. We had to stand in line for like 2-3 hours just to register.
Oh, yeah, they're not going to make it easy.
And they had already told them, but we were coming.
They make it easy.
We got to go to Greenwood and get some ballots because we not.
Wow.
Oh, they said it. It wasn't Jesse Jackson's fault because they had given them prior notice.
Right.
They had plenty of time. They did that on purpose. But at least we got the feel for it's the same place you're in today. Right. We got the feel for what the battle is about. And we're making progress. I'm not they call a pessimist. I'm an optimist. And I think we've made progress. I mean, we got Trump in office. It was a big setback. I get that. But as John Lewis says, our struggle is not for a day, a month, or a year. Our struggle is not a presidential era or a judicial nominee. Ours is the struggle of a lifetime or maybe even lifetimes. Ours is the struggle that requires each and every person in each and every generation to do their part. And that's John Lewis. So that's where we come from as black people. That's our background. We are fighting people. From the day we came here in chains, we've been fighting ever since. And this culture, as I always describe it, this culture is African American because this culture was created right here in America. I mean, I don't know what tribe you belonged to before they, trapped your ancestors, and you don't know what tribe I belong to. We got a assistant here on the equipment here. I don't know what tribe he belongs to. That's been stripped. We wouldn't have a clue. And at this point, hey, we are what we are. But we have to keep struggling and fighting for survival, really. And so, I had to throw that in there. I know we were talking about international news, but we kind of overlooked that. But I just wanted to mention that Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson is in my life, he was a giant and still is. All of them are. But Jesse, they're fading. The elders are moving on. They're fading away, but we're very prepared now. We're very educated. Black people are educated now. We can pick up the mantle and keep it going. Even better now. We can fight even better, but make no mistake about it. It's going to be a fight. Trump didn't already say it. I mean, he got Nazis and put Nazis in office. I mean, they already killed 2 white people. That's nothing new. White people dying. They died in the civil rights movement. I can name the names. You got Cheney Goodman. Cheney was a black guy. Goodman and Schwerner in Mississippi, civil rights workers. You got many preachers. So I'm just saying the names are eluding me right now, but I'm sure you probably have, white people died in the 60s and the 50s, and even the abolitionists way back when. So that white people dying is nothing new in the struggle. Of course, black people, there's thousands of them hanging up on trees in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and all the way back. So our history is rich.
It is, but you made a comment about white people that have died in the struggle. Sometimes I think that is lost, because, when you talk about all the things that have happened in our society coming up to where we are now, it's a whole lot of real horrible things that have happened to African American at the hands of white.
Right.
But then again, like you said, and that's a very important point, is that, yes, you had many of whites coming from the North and the Midwest that went down to the South, knowing that their life was because they was doing what was right. So, I don't do no broad stroke and say white people is this. No, I give each, even Martin Luther King say, you judge each man by his own character. You know what I'm saying? I don't do racist, because I think we had a conversation about this before, is that when you see, an African American, clowning out, do you take the responsibility of you? Because like you say, they're recognized individually. We're recognized as a culture.
That's right.
Yeah. So when they say black people, they think that all of us act like that, and that's not the case at all. No more than we say. To come back to what you're saying is that it's a lot of whites that stood up for what was right for, civil rights.
Right. That's a good point. And now we're at the end. We're coming up to the break. I like the way you said that. Judge, I think that Martin Luther King quote, where you want to be judged by the content of your character, right? Not the color of your skin. And unfortunately, when people see us, we are what they call a monolithic race. When one black person does something, that shines, that it reflects on all the black people psychologically to the other groups. Now, for black people, we already know it, the fool, whatever. We don't see it like that. Well, some do. We're human too. We watch the evening news. We see the black boogeyman every night too. So even Jesse Jackson, I remember him making a statement once. He talked about as he walked, sometimes he sees a black young people coming down the sidewalk, and he gets kind of a little bit on edge in Chicago. He said that way back when, and everybody can understand what he meant by then. But and that's a good segue, because we're ready to talk about in our subject for today. We're going to talk about baby boomers and Generation X and Z. So this is a good segue. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back because I just kind of gave a segue into when Jesse Jackson's walking down the sidewalk, he sees Generation X and Z coming his way. He gets a little uneasy, he said. And so we'll take a break, and we'll come back, and we'll start right there. We'll be right back.
Definitely on this particular subject, there's gonna be a lot of that. Talking to each other. So I'm pretty sure. But we talked about this kind of once before. Talking about our upbringing. So it's touching on that, but I'm gonna do the good bit because we got all of them: silent generation, baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z. What I'm saying, ready?
Ready to sound. All right, we're back. All right, this our subject for today: Generation X and Z versus the baby boomers. And I guess we would be slightly in that area of baby boomers. I don't know if we're right there. We'll say that for the baby boomers.
You was born in when?
I don't know the years.
What year were you born?
65.
Okay, you the beginning of Gen X.
You beginning
You
generation.
you missed the baby boomers by 1 year.
1 year.
That's
Okay.
why you so much like a baby
Oh,
boomer.
yeah, so yeah, that's kind of gray line. It's not
Right,
a cutoff
exactly,
line.
exactly.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool. Because I feel
And
like
you
I'm
sure
old.
feel like a baby boomer.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, your style.
But go open it up for you. Got your research on the baby boomers.
Okay,
here.
so
Come on, man. Tell me a
we
little
talking about
something. Educate me.
I got you, bro. We're talking about generational parenting styles, and then I just put just two. I'd say baby boomer is a whole lot of different type of generation, but I just say for the sake of this conversation because I'm a baby boomer, and then the Gen X and Z's are on the far end side of that. So it's almost there's a big gap in there. So you can tell,
You
do it.
included me in that too, right? I know I'm only a
Right,
year old. but I
you
can
are,
make,
yeah,
I make a
yeah.
cut.
You ride the train with us,
Oh, okay, good. Thank you.
But it's talk about so when they speak about it, they say baby boomers is that during that period is that the parenting emphasized higher education standards and structure and shift away from strict authoritarian styles. That's the baby boomers. That's us, me.
Okay.
And then the reason and
But I'm stuck. You said they shift away from authoritarian style. What does that mean?
style. So in other words, the styles before that, the silent generation, they was known for seen and not heard parent. They was often firm,
Oh, yeah.
traditional, and work within
good
the
point.
system.
Great
so,
point.
So the thing that I say about, from a baby boomer standpoint, is that I've had plenty of my friends and associates that's my age, is that they took it upon themselves based on their upbringing and their childhood.
Okay.
They made sure that they didn't want anything from their parenting style to be part of theirs. I personally think that that's a flaw, and the reason why I say that, yes, I came up through some hard times, as far as parents. A lot of things that my parents said to me, maybe we didn't agree with it, but sometimes we can come back later and say, yeah, okay, I understand what you meant during that time. But you have parents now is that they have different style. They got the helicopter parent, the one that hoovers over their kids.
Okay.
You got the parents that friendship. A lot of parents now are their kids' friends as opposed to being their
and that you're emphasizing getting away from the authoritarian.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Here's the transition
exactly.
that you're talking
that is
about.
the transition.
As opposed to when we were coming up,
Right, yeah.
We had it hard, bro.
Exactly.
You don't. If your mother or your parent had to tell you to take that garbage out twice, you ain't gonna forget the third time. That's called authoritarian.
Right.
You got a lump on your head because that was authoritarian. But like you say, I'm not. It worked, but for me, I think. But go ahead.
Right. Yeah, and you're right. It you know what I'm saying. So what the argument that I have with my friends and people in my age is that I say yes, because we always have that conversation that there's no manual
for raising a child.
for parenting. There's no man. So in other words, and you have some parents that say we did the best we could, and some kids don't accept that as an answer, that we did the best we can. But then again, you have to, because talking about the silent generation, work within the system. What that means is that they didn't bump up against anything that the system, that period was doing the civil rights struggle and all. So they didn't bump up against the system. The system say if that's the way it is. But now, you have kids of these generation. No matter what it is that you say, they gonna ask you why. And then, like you say, when we was growing up, why? You let why become part of your conversation, and then you be sitting in the bedroom late on. You're like, now why did I ask?
Outside
Yeah, exactly.
in the cold, you be out there in the cold. Talking about, hey,
why? But then again, and I see, parents that allow their kids more autonomy is that they can question things that. And I'm not the one, and I'm not the expert on what is right or wrong. I'm just talking about what works for me.
Right.
What worked for me is that I had a lot of parents' upbringing as far as like how I raised my kids. I just feel, as a kid, is that it is your responsibility as a parent to do everything you can to allow your kid to have a good, prosper, stress-free, drama-free life. That's something is owed to your kid.
Okay.
And if you don't provide that, that's when you start having that disconnect, when you don't have that particular, to me. I'm saying I'm not the expert, and I'm not saying that my ways are right, because I got what everybody want to give it a different name. They call it corporal punishment now, but we call it whooping. Some people call it beating. But but everybody has their own definition for it, because if you look up the definition of beating, What did
it say?
I have to look it up again.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying because there's a different type. If you look up a definition of a beating, and then you have to say, what it is that your parents was doing with you, because we are exactly knowing that if our parents did to us today's society what they did then, they can go to jail.
Yes. Now, hands down. The reason why I asked you about the beating thing, and let me follow what you just said. They could go to jail for what we got back then, but that was a different time, and I feel that I totally got beaten. Now, it wasn't that many. It wasn't like every day or nothing like that. It's just like I was just saying, like not taking the garbage out. Now that's probably a whooping. That's the weeping willow tree. That punishment deserves the weeping willow tree, right? Okay. I don't know what timeouts were. Timeouts was when your parents didn't say nothing. I told you to take that garbage out, didn't I? Okay, yeah, that's your timeout. Because the next time, you know what I mean. That in other words, there's certain terms. Timeouts didn't exist in the black household when we were coming up. And
that's true.
And in today's world, like you said, and I want to ask you, at what point do we? Okay, I will accept that we should, as parents, create a safe environment for our children, where they can get their education, and advance their career, so to speak. At what point does that stop? 24.
And that's a good
35,
that's a good
45.
segue. That's a good segue, because that's something they talk about with the difference in the generational, is that parents of today, there ain't no number in a lot of their cases. Is that when I grew up, these were my choices. Either you go to school, or once I got out of high school, either you go to school or you get you a job. Mm-hmm. Those was your choices.
Okay.
And it wasn't one of them saying, as far as getting a job, take your time and find one that you like. It wasn't that. But now kids say, all right, I don't want to work at McDonald's. I don't want to work at Chick-fil-A. I don't want to work at Walmart. So by them saying that, parents allow them, okay, well, they ain't found nothing they like. You see what I'm saying? So now that becomes more of a friend. Like, hey man, did you find a job today? No, I ain't find nothing. There wasn't nothing out there.
That's okay. Yeah, tomorrow will be a better day. You just wait it out. Everything will work out. That's what you're saying.
That's that style. That's that style. And that nurturing. And you see, the thing about it is, when I say that nurturing, people think that I'm saying that you should nurture your child. That's not what I'm saying. But if you do the over nurturing of them, what do you ever put any responsibility on that kid to do something different? So if the kid know that if he don't find a job, he's still gonna get some money on his allowance. Right. A 22-year-old getting an allowance at home with his parent. Could you even phantom something like that when you was growing up? First of all, the allowance part.
Yeah, that's why I'm stuck on the allowance. I'm like, okay, let me remind myself what that definition of allowance, because we certainly didn't get allowance until you went out and cut. You wasn't even allowance, but I had it wasn't even a yard, man. It's just far as you can see grass and hot sun, with a push mower. Now, if my mother, that is fairly generous, I might get $10. You get what I'm saying? Cut, that's a big yard. You know, and I had to cut my grandparents' yard. It was just as big. So that wasn't allowance though. You had to work
Right.
for that $10.
Right.
And I get what you're saying. That so 22, and like you say, I'm not judging because times are different now. I get that. I'm not judging myself, but I think there's some fundamental things that stand the test of time. And I want to back up to when you was talking about nurturing, raising your children. And I think something that I don't see emphasized as much in black households as it was when I was coming up is education. Because when I was coming, education was always pounded. Key. You got to get your education.
Yeah.
You got to graduate high school. That was basic.
Minimum.
Yeah, minimum. Because the generation before barely got a high school. If they got a high school education, they did very well too. By the way, because of that time frame. They couldn't go to school. They had to go to the one-room shacks and this and that. So they were always emphasizing education. We've come to the point now, I don't hear that as much. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm not in a lot of homes, but, education, even though they've kind of priced it to the moon, because when I went to school, you could get a good education, like $30,000. You're doing very well. But today, you had $300,000 almost, this cost of a house. So that's a difference. So there are some things that have changed since those times, but like I say, these things should carry through any generation. Education should be one. As you were saying, if you're at 22 and you're giving a kid an allowance at 22, wow, I had to judge that one now. I think that was just a little bit over the top because that's an adult. Over 21 is an adult. What is 18? You can
18.
vote.
Emancipate?
No, when you're 18 years old. Are you considered an adult at 18?
You
right?
can vote.
Yeah, you're considered an adult at
You can vote
18,
at 18,
right?
right.
That's right. So you're
In some
considered.
states, the age to consent is 16.
Okay.
Yeah, which if you could able to consent, I say
Okay.
you're an adult.
Right.
Right.
And back in your generation, 16, people were leaving home.
Right.
Hey, so that's what I say. We do have to consider when we talk about these things. We do have to consider the time frame and the changing of times. But I'm saying in my argument is that some of these things transgress time. Generations.
Right. And this one, generation, and because this the Gen Z is one of the things they say is continued trend of gentle parenting and prioritizing mental health.
Okay.
Okay,
Go ahead with it,
you know that's a whole conversation in
That
itself.
did make me that
Yeah,
chuckle.
it's a conversation in itself. I'm not a mental health specialist, and I have my own opinion about mental health. But during my time, to be identified as somebody that's getting mental health, that wasn't looked upon as something like, oh, okay, that sounds good. That wasn't something that you would let somebody know. But now, getting mental health counseling or a mental health assistant, it's almost like if you don't have a therapist, what's wrong with you? It is almost that particular, I'm just saying from what I've seen and observed, is that it's almost as that it has to be part of your life to receive mental health counseling. And I have to be very careful about that because people, take me saying that, thinking that I'm saying that mental health is not real, and I'm not saying, because we all can say from our childhood is that we was mentally tortured.
That's what I was thinking.
Right,
I was thinking
right.
that very thing when you were saying. I said, well, shoot, that mental health back then that's when we were getting the damage.
Right.
Hey, that was in real time of the battle, so to speak. And then today's world, we have somewhat PTSD from the battle, from the war. Now, you're not talking about the mental health are you talking about across the board mental health for Generation Z?
Yeah, I'm
X?
saying
Everybody getting mental health, right?
yeah, everybody is getting it, but I'm just saying that particular group is that it is part of their social norms. Is that they will ask, if I like I was saying earlier, if I was younger and if I had to go to see a mental health, we used to call them, slow doctors. If you were getting mental health, is that the reason why they say you have to get mental health is say it's something wrong with you.
Yes.
Is that you
That's
slow.
right. That's
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I
But
wouldn't
what I'm
say
saying,
you're
but they-
slow. I wouldn't go that far. When I remember when you were getting mental health, when you were seeing the doctor, you were crazy.
Well, I'll say so. Okay.
Yeah, you were crazy.
No,
That's
but I'm
crazy.
saying-
You got to go see a psychologist. It's crazy. I'm just saying back then, that was not, like you say, today's world. And in fact, let me say up front, too, I'm all for seeing a therapist. I mean, hands down, because of today's world. I do agree that mental health is only because of the times. Right. Back then, as you say, we have to make the acknowledge back then that was a different world. Mental health was you were being damaged or corrected in a way. Corporal punishment was a way to correct bad behavior, because especially with black people, we didn't have that margin of error that white people got. When we screwed up, we're going to jail. When they screwed up, like you said, they go get mental therapy. They go to a counselor.
Camp.
Camp. Yeah, they get camp or
right.
Something like that. We're getting boot camp. Yeah. And so I'm just saying back then, though, the standard was different. Today's world, I can say I endorse mental health and, the therapist part of, especially we live in the Chicago area. We just saw a guy get on the train, had mental issues, and set a woman on fire. You go to Chicago now and city there, hey, there's some people that need some good expanded mental health. So,
right, I agree.
And they're not Generation X or Z.
Right, but the issue that I have with it, if you want to call it an issue, don't y'all get on my comment line and saying that this dude is crazy. What I'm saying is that how is that's being utilized when a kid, don't want to go to school, don't want to get a job, but his answer is that it's because of my mental health. It's the reason why I'm not able to do those things.
Let me interject.
Okay, go ahead and interject.
Because, if I said that growing up, it just makes me chuckle.
Right, exactly.
My mental health will get straightened out right there. My mental health will be straightened out right there in point and case. Yep. And it's usually going to be that leather strap. Yep. Hopefully I don't get the belt buckle side, just get the leather side.
Right.
And my mental health will be straightened out right there, on the spot. But go ahead. I didn't mean to.
No, I know. And it's funny that you say that because, I laugh, and I think, maybe, maybe I did need counseling. I don't know. But I'm just saying, but the
can I interject again?
Yes.
I think I agree with that. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. that I need mental health. But I say to the people that's receiving that, if that's working for you, that's fine. I'm not making no judgment, all because everybody don't need the same thing, and maybe, I'm so screwed up is that I don't realize that I need mental health counseling. But then again, for my upbringing, the way that my mother raised me, maybe some things that she herself has admitted to me is that, it's some things that she could have done different. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not one to blame, them for, what became of my upbringing because, like you said, it was during that time.
Right.
Because
and I like the way you said that, and I just love the way you said that. You don't hold like the beatings I got. I don't hold that against my parents. They were bad. Not a lot. I could count them on one hand. The beatings I got, probably about 3, if I had to guess. But I don't hold it against my parents, grandparents, because, I'm not saying that the crime didn't fit the punishment. But that's a good subject. Like you said, we have to be careful with that because people do need mental health today. I think it's a good thing because of times have changed. But in this last 8 minutes, brother, we'll take a quick break, and we're going to come right back, and we're going to talk about the entertainment news here, just because we leave the show on a good high note, hopefully. And so we'll be right back.
talking Nicki Minaj.
Nicki Minaj.
And then they for New Life. They dogging out real bad.
Okay.
That'd be something to talk about.
Nicki Minaj.
Nicki Minaj, the new MAGA representative.
Okay.
I agree. It's pretty good.
So we got. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. In this last few minutes that we have left, we're going to always, as we do entertainment, we were talking about, was it Megan?
No, Nicki Minaj.
Nicki Minaj.
And it's entertainment. But it's tied into politics. But then again, it's funny to me because I'm being entertained by it. You know, Nicki Minaj is the new MAGA representative of black people. First of all, let it be known, Nicki Minaj is not 100% black, but anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, come on now, educate me.
She from one of them Caribbean islands.
Oh, like Virgin Islands or something?
One of them.
Okay.
But anywho,
it's a territory of the United States, or is it Britain? Or?
Yeah, but see, the thing about it is that I don't like how those people are being used for a platform.
Right.
So
when you say those people, who is those people?
The Nicki Minaj or anybody else for that matter.
Let me on that point, because that's what you corrected me on the black African American population, because I was saying it's 20, and you said it was more than that, and we looked it up. It was 40 million black people. Right. I think that other 20 is probably what you're referring to.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Right, but it just funny to me how they could take that piece and flush her out into MAGA world as a way to say, see, we got black people that's supporting us, and then famous black people. You know, it ain't just like the people that the two sisters they found in Alabama somewhere that they they sent all the way across the United States because
stand on the stage
and stand behind them.
Then talk about there's my black
man,
right there,
yeah, exactly. But I'm saying, but people could say to me, she got a right to support whoever she wants. Why are you all upset with her?
Legitimate question.
Yeah, and it is a legitimate question. My issue is that you're using that, she's using that, Nicki Minaj using that platform because the fact is that the black world, black Twitter and all them folks, they been going after Nicki Minaj, so she needs to find an outlet.
Okay.
And so the best outlet that she could find was to hug up under the President of the United States.
And the way I understood that, now you can correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't she have a brother or something that has some issues, and she was sounded like to me she was working for her own cause, right, to get him some type of now it makes sense to me. I didn't think he was a citizenship, but they had citizenship issues.
Oh, okay.
And I think that was her connection to Trump, and Trump just used it like you say, black people should know better. Tim Scott. Yeah, come on now. I mean, we have problems in with black people as far as, and it's a free world, well, so far, in America. And so, I just have problems with black people. It's what we call selling out, so to speak.
And I have a nephew that's a Trumper, right? Mm-hmm. And he speaks very highly about the things as far as but I said to him, is that you got to, when you're talking about this person and you talk about the things that he does, you got to look at it. You have a grandmother, you have a mother, you have a sister, but you're not being affected by that. You don't think, or should I say, not yet. But then again, they are. When they cutting Social Security, that's going to affect.
That's right.
If they cut this health care, they cutting all that. These are things that's going to affect us as a whole, as a generation. Like when you always ask the question, when people say, well, what did that have to do with black people? It has a lot to do with it.
Yes.
And you better understand that it do, because that's what he wants you to become, is to become so inundated with all of this that you become tired. That's what they're trying to do,
right.
is to wear you down.
And doing a good job.
And
of
doing a good job.
All right. Well, that comes to the end of our hour here. And it was good conversation, brother. We're only going to get better as the show goes on. We're cranking up the mothership, and we're on the runway. We're going to be taking off, or we already took off. But if you have any comments or suggestions, please email us at BMC Black Middle Class Talk at USA.com. That's BMCT USA at gmail.com. So let me try that again. BMCT USA at gmail.com. Sorry about that. And just email us your comments, and pretty soon we'll get everybody online and we'll be up and running. So till next time, thank you for joining us, and great conversation there. Have a good one. Oh, as always, as the old sisters would say, always do the right thing.
See, in Generation X, 1965, 1980, are latchkey kids, felt underparent, needing them to become highly involved, protective helicopter parents prior to ride with that too. So you can get on the booming end and ride over to the But you said, because you said latchkey, so you said that your mother